from the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters.
That would be Delta Force, 75th Ranger Regiment, and perhaps SEAL Team 6 were launched from helicopters.
It's your morning addiction.
If you're a drug trafficker and you're indicted in U.S. courts especially, the United States is going to come after you.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team.
It just was the right time to do it. We had to do it because it's a war. We're losing 300,000 people a year.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
You don't have Randy Tobler today. You don't have Stephanie Bell, but you have, you got John Marsh. You got Jennifer Bukowski. My name is Peter Thiel. It's Wake Up Missouri. What did you do this weekend? I spent a lot of time watching Venezuela be freed.
Yeah, it was quite something. I'll tell you what, I was in the Bahamas.
Oh.
I was in the Bahamas, and we were sitting in a hot tub, and it was late at night, and we see military planes go overhead at low altitude in a military formation, and I knew something was up. And I'm in the hot tub with my 18-year-old son. I'm like, my goodness, I hope we're not at war right now. But it was a very precise strike. It ended quickly. And here we are with the liberated Venezuela, Venezuelans celebrating all over. And you know who's going to be the happiest about this development? The Somalians, because
yes,
prior to the Venezuela thing, they were the top of the news every day.
All right, Drake, is my microphone working or not?
It sounds a little off. I'll go in there and tighten it up for you.
It's a little tinny.
All right, yeah, Tampon Timmy is leaving Minnesota.
Well,
he's not running for re-election.
He's not.
No, that a real well-known political journalist in the Twin Cities reported that late last night.
Wow.
So apparently he is going to be dropping his re-election bid today.
That's huge.
That's a big story.
Yeah, so.
That's good. I mean, he's been in there 8 years, and look what happened during the years that he was in office.
Total fraud.
Yeah. It looks like, he will be announced. Look at you, Peter Thiel. Way up on the news. I hadn't even seen that. He'd already announced in September that he would run for a third term, and now he's out, as he should be. I wonder who will replace him.
Amy Klobuchar.
You think?
Yeah, that's the big rumor. Amy Klobuchar will announce as soon as Tampon Tim Wall says he's not running for re-election. That's what's going to happen, and
Well, that'll make it hard for the Republicans to take over that state. I just hope we don't have My Pillow King endorsed to replace Klobuchar. Then Mike Lindell by Trump. I've heard that's who Trump's favoring, and I think when we have a real opportunity in a state like Minnesota, which is so blue, to get a Republican in there, we should use it with a good candidate.
Yeah, and Amy Klobuchar's father, I worked with him years ago, and these are folks that take themselves way too seriously. You want to talk about an individual who cannot have fun? That's Amy Klobuchar.
You know what? I felt bad for her when she was getting such crap for yelling at people, because I think all those politicians yell at their staff. That's just the dynamic. You're very stressed out. And when women do it, there's a double standard to it. That's my take on that.
Well, it's not double standard.
What?
Behind every good drug dealer is a wife, and Nicolas Maduro's wife is going to be going to jail as well.
I thought that was quite interesting, actually, because a lot of times they just arrest the man. Like if you look at the Ponzi scheme, bro, Madoff.
Yes.
The wife's free. A lot of times the wives are left alone. They must have had evidence that she was helping run the thing.
Remember the pictures of Manuel Noriega all by his lonesome back in the 90s when we busted him, kind of similar to Maduro.
And left the wife alone.
Yep.
So so go on from there. There was a story about Maduro, and this is probably about 4 or 5 years after Chavez died. And it was an interesting story because living in the palace, it was Maduro and his family with the children of Hugo Chavez.
Huh.
The children of Hugo Chavez would not leave.
Really?
And apparently they were throwing parties to 3 a.m. every day.
Wow. Those are some powerful teenagers. Or how old were they?
I think they were in their 20s.
They wouldn't leave.
They wouldn't leave. They refused to leave. And Maduro was so frightened because he thought if he kicked the kids out, he would lose his power base and he would be removed immediately.
Huh. That's an interesting factoid.
Yeah, so Nicolas Maduro kept saying, come and get me, come and get me. Trump went and got him.
Yeah.
Democrats, of course, all of a sudden are in favor of Venezuela, where just quoting Joe Biden, paraphrasing, he said, Donald Trump delights and connects with strong men like Nicolas Maduro. They have so much in common.
Huh. Well.
And that aged well.
I guess they both went to jail. Briefly. Both got arrested. Beyond that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's no commonality at all. None at all.
But so the Monroe Doctrine, that's what he's calling it now. The Monroe Doctrine. I had to look that one up. It's
the Monroe Doctrine has been a deal. It has been, that we are in charge of our hemisphere. Yeah. If there's an enemy in our hemisphere, we got to take them out. That has been on the books as a philosophy in this country going back, about 200 years.
Yeah. So
James Monroe was the president. They named
wait, now, John, you were alive then. Yeah. When was Monroe president again?
1820s, I think.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah. He was a charismatic feller, wasn't he?
Yeah. They got a doctrine named after him. I can give him a break.
Hey, most of us don't get that. Don't get that at all. So, so Nicolas Maduro is going to be arraigned today. They just brought him to the courthouse in New York. We were watching on the TV the motorcade with Maduro. Maduro's a big man. It's he was taller than most of the law enforcement around him.
Yeah, which is, down in South America, there's a lot of people on the slider side, height-wise. So
yes.
I'm sure people always look to tall guys for leadership, a lot of times, even if they're unqualified thugs. And this guy just wouldn't leave power. And he played games and he found out, as Pete Hegseth said. And I think it's like
fooled
people
around and found out.
People that are protesting, I don't think have done any kind of homework to look into the research of what this guy was up to and how he was endangering our country. Like, Venezuela had already been invaded by the Iranians, by the Chinese, by the Russians, by the Colombian cartels, by Hezbollah. They were partnered with them for decades. And so this is very close to our country. And it's where all of the evil cabal of our enemies were operating freely. And so that's a real problem for the safety of our country. And even I saw reels and things like that over the weekend of people who hate Trump but understand the Venezuela situation and are celebrating this liberation.
Yeah, Venezuelans, if you look there's places that have large Venezuelan populations, and the people are cheering on the street, cheering.
Yeah, crying. So, yeah.
Now the whole thing is, I want to be, fair and balanced here. And by the way, coming up later on this morning, Rich Valdez is going to be with us. Rich isn't Venezuelan; he's Puerto Rican, but he lives in New York, where there's a lot of stuff on there. He used to be a syndicated radio host, and he's in the process of looking for his next type of gig, or he has one. He hasn't announced it yet. So Rich is going to join us at 7:35, and Tanya J. Powers is going to be giving us a look at the Maduro arraignment. So she will have that from Fox News, and she joins us at 8:08 this morning. It's Jennifer Bukowski, Peter Thiel in for the wonderful Randy Tobler and Stephanie Bell right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. Also coming up today, and I think this is going to be good, right after we get back from our break, our man, John Marsh, will have all the D.C. information for us, and I like that a whole lot. And he's ready to rock and roll. So that's coming up next, exclusively on the Zimmer Radio Network.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
And Jennifer Bukowski's here, and Drake Whitman, and joining us with everything going on in the D.C. Rundown, ladies and gentlemen, John, the man Marsh.
Set captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and wife expected to make their first court appearance in a U.S. courtroom at noon. The required proceeding that could launch a prolonged legal battle over whether the pair can be tried in the U.S. Maduro and Flores expected to be transported from the Brooklyn jail to the Manhattan courthouse. Situation drawing comparisons to Panamanian strongman Manuel Noriega, who unsuccessfully raised a similar defense after he was captured back in the 1990s. Strike has renewed the focus on Venezuela's oil sector, which includes some of the richest crude reserves in the world. We're going to rebuild the infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars and will be paid for by the oil companies directly, the president said on Saturday. And Congress was already set to come back this week to a slew of policy fights and the threat of another government shutdown. So now House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune be forced to answer from some in their own party over whether to assert the legislative branch's role in war making alongside the president. So we'll see where that debate goes.
Excellent. Well, I think we're going to have a heck of a day to watch a lot of different stuff. You just woke up. Maybe you did something fun over the weekend and were totally unplugged. Well, Nicolas Maduro is no longer the dictator of Venezuela. He's in New York. He's on his way to a courtroom right now to be indicted, formally charged with the crimes that he has committed. In the first Trump administration, 2020, Maduro was indicted. It was a sealed indictment for drug dealing and for other malfeasances against the United States people. And this should not be allowed. Anyone who's cheering for Maduro on the streets, they're nuts and they're completely bonkers, Jennifer.
Yeah, they sure are. This guy was killing the opposition, killing anyone that spoke up against him.
Starving his people.
Like people died for lack of medicine, all while enriching themselves and their cronies. They weren't pumping oil because they stole the oil from the, multi-billion-dollar oil companies that know how to run those complicated drilling machines to process the very it's difficult to process Venezuelan oil. There's a lot of it, but the process to make it usable is much more difficult, so you need more expertise to do it. Instead, they were releasing gangs out of their prisons and jails and their mental institutions and their insane asylums, letting them roam free in the United States to terrorize us. And, Trump had enough of it, and they gave this guy many different off-ramps. He wouldn't take any of them. He said, "You coward," to Trump, "come and get me." And so, sure enough, 150 aircraft, brave men and women.
You asked nice enough, and Donald Trump's going to help.
Yeah. So Noriega, interestingly, he somehow eluded authorities when they came to get him and hid out in the Vatican briefly before he was then
the Commandancia. Yeah, it was the kind of the Vatican headquarters in Panama City.
Yeah.
And he holed up there for, weeks, didn't he?
Yeah, the embassy there for, briefly. And then they got him. And then he got 40 years eventually for drug trafficking and racketeering charges. But he was served about 17 years, got extradited to France and convicted of money laundering and imprisoned. And then 2011 got extradited to Panama, where he faced convictions of human rights abuses, including the murder of political opponents. He died at the age of 83 in 2017 from a brain tumor while under house arrest.
Yeah, there you go. So, Nicolas Maduro, it was an interesting thing that was going on. Remember, that country kept ignoring their popular elections.
That was a big thing. Like, they had that brilliant Nobel Peace Prize winning woman speaking about, we've already been invaded, and they had to hide her out as she ran successfully and beat him 2-1. And they smuggled the receipts out to prove it, too. But he just wouldn't give up power. And I guess the military wouldn't back her either. So it wouldn't be a successful transition of power right away if we just put her in, even though she won last year.
Yeah, again, I don't understand the inner workings of the great nation of Venezuela, primarily because it's been kind of on lockdown. It's been like Cuba, North Korea light. And it really has.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see what happens. My hope is that we're going to be in a place where the Venezuelan people will be free and be able to take advantage of their oil and be able to have a prosperous future in that country. They're beautiful people. The Venezuelans are lovely. And so best to them.
Yeah. And Trump posted 4 days before this occurred that we are just getting started. So I wonder what that bodes for the rest of the Western Hemisphere, for Iran, for other places, because it seems like Cuba especially. Colombia. Yeah, they've been playing games and flighting around. What word did you use earlier?
Yeah, and fooled around and found out.
They've been fooling around with us quite a bit, haven't they?
Yes.
Especially Colombia. Mexico, to some extent, letting their cartels operate basically like armies down there. They've been fooling around. So I wonder who else we'll find out. In this video that they released, we'll have to play it when we get back. I'll put it up on the page. They actually published this 4 days before the Venezuela thing, and you got to check this thing out.
Yeah, it's a great video where all of a sudden our man Nicolas Maduro was screaming bloody murder, saying that, you know what? I am not going anywhere. Come on, Donald Trump. Come and get me, baby.
He said that during the first Trump administration.
Yeah, that didn't go well. You are listening to Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. Bukowski, I'm Peter Thiel. John Marsh is here. Randy Tobler is back tomorrow with Jennifer, so you get lots of Jennifer, and I think that's great. And it is Nicolas Maduro is on his way. They put him into an armored vehicle, and they're sending him to court right now. It's
a long commute. I mean, court's not until noon.
Yeah, well, remember, it's East Coast, so it's already like 7:30 there, and you got to put makeup on him probably, and maybe give him
cover up his bruises or what?
Yeah,
what does he do the makeup for?
A little Pop-Tart action.
What are they going to?
Probably a bagel, probably more appropriate.
What kind of uniform are they going to pop him in? Little Pony pajamas? Did you see that kid?
Yes, it's.
No, I wonder, are they going to have him in street clothing? Or are they going to have him in orange jumpsuit? Stripes? We'll have to wait and see.
New York's famous for their perp walks, and we'll see how they do this. That'll be lots of fun. We'll also end up seeing if he has legal representation at this time.
Yeah, and I wonder who. Who do you get?
Well, I have an idea of how...
I'm unavailable, by the way, Mr. Maduro.
All right. It's
I have a conflict. I hate you.
I have this buddy of mine, and I actually hope that he is not picked by Maduro because we could get him on at a different time. Jeffrey Lichtman was on the El Chapo defense team.
Yeah.
Represented the rapper The Game and John Gotti Jr. and a bunch of big cases. And Jeffrey's a great guy. And
this is going to be a complicated defense. You're going to have the head of state immunity, rationale personae defense.
Yes.
I've never had that. I've never represented a head of state who's
now
with
after
the foreign
7 o'clock,
official immunity and active state doctrine. All kinds of unique defenses and matters of international law will come to play in this thing.
Jen, there's some well-known Florida attorney who defends a lot of the drug dealers with that immunity defense thing.
Probably.
Yeah, and I think
name?
he just
think
died.
of it.
He just died. His last name was Black.
There was a guy, Dave Marcus, wasn't that the one guy out of Miami who was real big with the drug dealers?
Yeah. They're gonna have challenges to the way they extradited him, violation of international law and use of force, lack of consent and extraterritorial enforcement. If they could be like, oh, he was never in America, even though that wouldn't fly if you were within America and you send a bunch of thugs to go do something, you're still responsible. But given that he was kind of quasi an elected president at one point, there's going to be a lot of just very technical legal defenses for him to work with. But, as you pointed out, Peter, that didn't work out for Noriega or John. One of the two of you said that earlier. Yeah.
And so at 7:08, I want to go down and break down with our criminal defense attorney, Jennifer Bukowski, because I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, well, why would anyone work as a criminal defense attorney? And I said, I'll give you the perfect reason why, is that everybody under the U.S. Constitution is innocent until proven guilty, and a criminal defense attorney's job is to make sure that the accused person's constitutional rights are being protected. And I am guessing that every criminal defense attorney has represented someone they know is guilty as hell, but they have to make the state prove it.
The innocent ones are way more pressure. Let me tell you, if you know you have an innocent person charged with murder or something, that is a lot of pressure. Otherwise, you're right, Peter. You're holding the government to its burden. You're making people have confidence in the integrity of the entire system by challenging the methods that were used, were constitutional rights adhered to, and also not everyone should be judged solely by the worst mistake they ever made. We have ranges of punishment for a reason, ranges of offenses for a reason. So a lot of what you're doing in the 90+% of the cases where they've got the client dead to rights, you are trying to get them the best path forward in terms of a plea negotiation.
Yeah.
And if you can't get the prosecutor to be reasonable, you go to the judge or even the jury, and sometimes you can try to nullify, or you just need one juror to hold.
Yes.
So sometimes it's worth a gamble if they're being completely unreasonable and offering only the max. Then yeah, I'm going to go to trial because why not? Why not? I might hang this jury. I might get an acquittal. Your people might not show up and testify. They might be very uncredible. That's going to be a problem here. And I don't want to, tease too much of my thoughts on my defensive like theoretical defense of Maduro, but like what kind of quality and character are they going to have of the witnesses to testify against him? What kind of baggage do those people have? How much do you believe them? Because you know what? They're on the stand there probably because there's something in it for them.
Yeah, and if you are an attorney representing Nicolas Maduro, any of these witnesses that are brought up, from law enforcement to people intelligence, snitches,
you're
all
going to
that
have
stuff.
cooperating witnesses against them.
Yes, and so you're going to basically have to shred the people.
Yeah, and a lot of their people that probably provided a lot of the information would give away too much of America's sources and methods and assets. Like we probably have people operating from the CIA down in Venezuela that have given us a lot of the information about his whereabouts. We might not want to blow their cover. And so it may not be worth bringing them to light to testify against Maduro at a criminal trial.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of stuff. So we're going to be watching that today. The other breaking news this morning, right here on Wake Up Missouri, Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel, producer Drake, in for Randy and Stephanie today. The other big story is that apparently the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz.
Tim wave his hands around Walz.
Yeah, Mr. Prance.
He's like one of those balloons, at the car dealership.
Yeah, it's
and he didn't say no Somali fraud. So that story apparently has led to him making a new decision about running for a third term.
That my guess is they've done polling and they found out, he can be beaten now. The other note for Tim Walz is that maybe he's complicit. There's also been other stories coming out of Minnesota having to do with the Somali to Democratic Party pipeline, that a lot of these people who are receiving federal benefits were writing big checks to Democrats. That's not a good thing. So it's going to be a real big day in the news. I'm actually entertained by the people defending Nicolas Maduro.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing I liked about the Somali story is it felt like it was one of the more unifying stories that we've seen in our country, where you had a lot of people from the left being like, hold on, I'm driving to work right now. I'm paying my insurance bill. I'm paying my car insurance. I'm paying my gas. I'm paying for daycare. And these people are getting millions of my dollars to buy luxury cars and properties just by theft. Why should I bother working? Are you making me look? They're making regular, hardworking people look like fools.
And we even had Missouri Senator Nick Schroer on with us the other day, who said when we asked him, could this happen in Missouri? He said absolutely.
Yeah, well, I believe it can. And I also think whenever you have and how the states and cities and counties look at federal money is they look at it as free cash. They do. And a lot of times it is not looked after as closely as local tax receipts.
Oh, yeah, quite the opposite. Like government, they have to spend every penny by the end of the year, or they might have less of a budget next year. So they'll just make sure they use every penny that they can. Because in government, how successful you are, unlike private market, is by how big your budget is and how many people report to you, not how well you did your job or how efficient you were in that job. So that's it. You always look at the incentives, and unfortunately, with government, the incentives are kind of screwed up to waste our money. But even then, I don't think people that work for the government would, by and large, support Somali fraudsters stealing millions. Government workers don't get millions of dollars.
Correct.
Millions of dollars, billions of dollars. I mean, 18 billion possibly is what's been lost there. How? That's real power that you've given to criminals and thugs. $18 billion. That's a lot to work with for a criminal syndicate.
Yeah, and again, I look at the whole deal here about whether Somali fraud is being committed in Missouri. And I hate to use that term. Both St. Louis and Kansas City have modest Somali populations. In St. Louis, according to all the data I can find, there's about a little over 600 Somali people that live in St. Louis. In Kansas City, it's about 800. And so what we have learned is that the Somalis are working together as a unified force. We're now finding out that the UN commissioner the ambassador to the
this
UN,
was unbelievable.
also ran daycares and special needs organizations in Ohio.
So this is like a business plan. These people, his number one a job over there is piracy. Come here, and it's no surprise that they're not ready to go, drive a UPS route or work for a living.
I'm sure many of them do.
Some of them do, hopefully, but others, I guess, still have that mindset of plunder.
So there was a news conference with one of the Somali daycare operators who claimed that his daycare was broken into and every record of every child was stolen.
And the employee records, too.
Yeah, employee records,
then they found
the checkbooks were gone, the whole bit. Okay.
But they were doing things like, I have 4 kids, you have 4 kids. We both have daycares. We both sign up for welfare, state-run assistance, and then we're watching each other's children at our next door to each other daycares.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good scam.
That might not even be illegal. We don't know. You'd have to look at the regulations and laws in Minnesota to see if they just found a loophole.
Oh, well, and here's the other thing. So the guy giving the news conference, he was wearing some pretty fancy glasses.
Uh-huh.
Turns out this daycare operator was wearing $2,400 frames.
Huh.
And
that's just the frames. Huh.
And so, I'm Jennifer Bukowski. I'm Peter Thiel. John Marsh is here. And I know you guys keep commenting that I'm quite a fashion guy.
Every time you walk in.
Every time I walk in, Jennifer keeps saying, "Wow,
where'd you get that?
And
I need to buy my husband that."
Yeah, wow, your sartorial splendor is high on the list.
You're not bad. You're in a button-down blue check shirt. That's nice.
Yeah, my sister got it for me.
Oh, okay.
She's my fashion advisor. It's until I get a girlfriend and a wife again, or a wife, whatever. Then they'll have a new fashion advisor, and that's the way it should be. All right, coming up, John Marsh. What do we have?
We have all sorts of fun things to delve into, and coming up in the next hour, the bell ringer from heck.
All right, coming up right after, in about 4 minutes, right here on Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Marsh, Jennifer Bukowski. My name is Peter Thiel. Randy Tobler returns tomorrow. Nicolas Maduro has arrived at the courthouse. It's and several things going on today as we go through and we watch this. President Trump ran on this, Jennifer and John, about the idea of that we're not in the nation building business, but it's we're now in the nation building business. How does this get handled? How does this execute? How do we keep Venezuela from turning into a complete and utter nightmare?
Well, they've got oil. That's the huge difference, Peter. We've got an industry, the oil industry, that can go in, and that country should be a very rich country. And that country, Russia and China, were trying to exert control and influence over because of the oil. And so we can reimburse ourselves, and they have the resources to build the infrastructure and enrich the Venezuelan people too. So
they called it
with Trump, he follows the money.
Yeah, absolutely. They called it the Maduro diet.
Yeah.
Where the average Venezuelan had lost 20 pounds.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was not enough food.
And they don't have current medicine, so it wasn't the Ozempic or the fat shot or whatever, what will you call it. But Maduro, he didn't look like he was missing a meal.
No. The leaders of communist regimes are always doing pretty good. It's doing really, really well.
It is a warm embrace of collectivism
really
when it comes to the leaders.
Yes.
Not a bad deal if you get a free house in the woods like Putin, right?
Yeah, it's Zohan Mamdani, by the way. He's appointed someone the head of housing. This is also great.
Yeah.
That doesn't think white people should own homes because it's a symbol of white supremacy.
She doesn't think anyone should, and this is something people, especially white people, need to get over.
Get over your white privilege. Let's play this little clipperino.
This is the genius that he appointed last night.
Yeah, Mamdani is delivering as an absolute whack job.
New York City mayor.
Let's see here.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Yeah, and of course, this is a white woman.
Good luck with that. Yeah, but to her credit, she's not wearing $2,400 glasses. She's wearing like a thrift store looking outfit and a ponytail as she's posting this video as her new important position. So
she's not wearing high-end makeup.
Yeah.
There's no makeup on this gal at all.
So no one wants to share your stuff with you, probably. Maybe she wants my stuff. Who knows?
Yes. It's, you know what? If you are a homeowner, just give up your property right now. Do it, man. Because that's what these people want, and they're going to want you to give it up. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in New York, primarily because I was talking to a buddy of mine, and maybe this is someone we'll get on in the future here. His name is Frank Morano, and Frank is one of the, 3 Republican city council members in New York. He represents Staten Island. And he... he says, the council's so whacked out that the previous governors or mayors, including de Blasio, had to say, yeah, that's too far.
No way.
Yes. So it's
so Mamdani might get some crazy stuff done. And will that be good or bad? Because it might be good to have an example, a prominent example of how the warmth of collectivism isn't that warm or isn't that fun or great for anyone. But on the other hand, it's our biggest, greatest, most important city.
All right, the defense attorney will be with us after the top of the hour. Jennifer Bukowski on representing despicable human beings like Nicolas Maduro. It's coming up on Wake Up Missouri.
from helicopters.
It's your morning addiction.
If you're a drug trafficker and you're indicted in U.S. courts especially, the United States is going to come after you.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team.
It just was the right time to do it. We had to do it because it's a war. We're losing 300,000 people a year.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
I'm Peter Thiel, Jennifer Bukowski, our man John Marsh is here, producer Drake. We're Wake Up Missouri. Randy returns tomorrow. Stephanie returns on Wednesday. Jennifer, so you being the criminal defense attorney here, you get the call. And when you were an active defense attorney, you would get a call to go in. You did public defender stuff in private practice, correct?
Correct.
Now, in public defender stuff, can you turn down a case?
When I was an actual public defender, no, not without a conflict. And then I did special public defender work as well when I could turn it down. But often I had many, many cases where I go to the jail to meet the client and introduce myself as their new attorney.
Okay.
Because they've qualified or whatever for a public defender and the charges are serious enough to warrant having someone paid for by the government to defend them. And it's going to be a big question to me. Like, this guy, Maduro, has socked away a lot of money. Have the feds found all of it? Have they frozen all of it? What kind of promises could be made about different funds for him not to have a public defender? Because if you're Maduro, I mean, honestly, public defenders, they are not working for the government. There's an impression about that amongst criminal defendants sometimes that you're with the man or whatever until proven otherwise.
Who pays, though? The public defender. Who
you
pays
and I
that
do,
bill?
the taxpayers. Okay. But, I mean, public defenders, they're a pretty clean game. They're not really working with the government to get you. But if I were Maduro, I don't know that I'd believe that. And so I would definitely want to be hiring my own attorney. The question is,
does he have access to his assets?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes when the government's frozen a bunch of assets in white-collar cases or other kinds of cases, drug dealers, you know, their deals can be worked out about the payment of the attorney if different assets are unfrozen. But in cases where they're going to seize them all as proceeds of illicit drugs, you know, that can get a lot more complicated.
Yeah, my friend who was on the El Chapo defense team, he had to wait to get on for the federal government to approve a certain amount of money to be released for the representation of El Chapo.
And either way, the government's going to pay, so they're like letting you use your own funds, I guess.
Yes, so so he could not be a part of it until it got signed off.
And with things like this too, you're going to have a different level of criminal defense that I have not had. I know people who do, where you're going to have to get clearance to see sensitive documents in order to do your defense properly. You're going to see some stuff that's probably secret, top secret. They're not going to show you everything probably because they're not going to use everything against you, but they're probably going to use some things that are sensitive enough that they're going to have to give security clearances to the defense attorneys.
Yeah, and people in their law firm that see the material.
Yeah.
Now, Jennifer,
they have big rules on that. Like sometimes you have to go to them and you can review it there and you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
Well, it was the same kind of deal, too, when we kind of hearkened back to the Noriega case from back in the 90s. Jen, didn't he have all of his funds frozen by the feds when they brought him here, and that was part of his defense attorney's stand was that some of Noriega's ill-gotten gains weren't ill-gotten. They were actual, real wealth that he accrued himself on the up and up.
Yeah, there you go. You could say, hey, they didn't seize these, so they obviously don't even believe it all was illicit. And when I had drug cases as public defender, some of my argument to the prosecutors, at least, would be, look, I obviously don't have the kingpin because I'm not getting paid. It's the other ones in this thing that you have that are the real bosses where they actually ponied up some money to have a defense attorney.
So you're called in and you accept a case, Jennifer, as a criminal defense attorney, and you personally find the individual not a good person, a terrible individual all the way around.
That's not really, I don't go in there and try to judge, is this a good person or not?
That's not how you do it?
No, I go in there, I look at their charges, I introduce myself. It's, I explain my role, and I ask them, what... I very carefully couch my questions because I don't want them to be like, what happened? Because that could tie me up later if I want them to testify.
Yes.
And if they tell you one thing, then you can't like have them up on the stand saying another thing. So I want to wait until I see what they have on my client before I really get into the nitty gritty. But I'll couch it in terms of like, well, what's the cop going to say that you said to them? Because
yes.
I'm not saying what did you say. These days, that question is a little less of an issue because so much is recorded. Like the whole thing is recorded, basically, not just interrogation room or whatever. But
cops have their cameras on.
Yeah.
The whole
when
bit.
I first started, though, it was like your word versus the cops of what was said. So you'd ask, what will the cops say that you said to them? And in this case, though, I'm wondering what the bulk of their evidence is going to be because he's going to have some shady characters that could provide state's evidence against him, but their credibility is going to be questionable because they probably have deals in order to testify against him.
How many do you think there's going to be video surveillance and phone taps?
Yeah, I mean, they claim to know when they're blowing up these drug boats that it's definitely drugs. So how much are we going to see about how they know it's drugs based on sources on the ground? Are they going to expose those sources in order to convict Maduro? Or do they want to keep those people secret so they can continue to monitor the situation? So this is going to be a very, very complex criminal case. But the bigger story here, of course, is, using the Monroe Doctrine to assert our dominance in the Western Hemisphere. But just as a criminal defense attorney, I find it really fascinating how this is going to play out in court, starting with the arraignment, which is just where you go in and offer a plea, guilty or not guilty. We'll probably get maybe some information as to whether or not he has counsel. The judge will ask him that if there's not counsel present, or we will see the counsel present at this proceeding that's going to take place here at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much. And the most important part of this is that the Trump administration has actually made Nicolas Maduro a hero among the left. They're automatically just cheering for Maduro.
Anything Trump does, they hate. Even though there are Venezuelans that hate Trump, I've seen them on TikTok. They're like, I'm the number one Trump hater in the world, but this is not bad. Just because it's Trump doesn't mean that this isn't a great thing for the people, because the people have been suffering so much under this brutal dictator.
Yeah, and so again...
And it was such a big risk to us to allow Iran and China and Russia to be operating freely and potentially having access to that oil. What is it, a third of the reserves, John? Do you know? Of the world? Something crazy amount of oil.
Yeah, that deal, and I know you talked about it, and I think I saw one of the TV news pieces over the weekend where they talked about sour crude and how hard it is to refine. Yeah. So they said they've got a lot of it, but it's not the high-speed, low-drag oil that everybody's trying to get.
Yeah, so they need our oil companies know how to do it, though. And
yes.
So better
quality
us than
engineering.
Them.
Yeah, I'd much rather have that. Suspect is in custody after an incident at Vice President Vance's personal home in Ohio.
Yeah, talk about a crime that's going to be on video. My Lord, some of these criminals are not that bright.
And so
there's going to be cameras covering every square inch of that. The ingress, the egress, they're going to have that suspect on camera committing that offense, whatever it is. I wonder what he painted or broke at the house.
Yeah, we're going to find out everything about that as well. The other breaking news story today is that apparently Tim Walz will not be running for re-election for the governorship of Minnesota.
Yeah, even though Venezuela bumped the Somalians out of the news. I was thinking that this week, and I'm like, the Somalians have got to be so happy about Venezuela because they were the top story for 5 days.
When people were not paying attention because it was the holiday, people on vacation. There are a lot of people right now that are plugging in for the first time since before Christmas.
Oh, for Venezuela, yeah. And so there's so much going on. What a kickoff to 2026. It's going to be another big year in radio, Peter.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be there. So coming up at 6:30 or at 7:38, our buddy Rich Valdez is going to be with us, and we'll talk to him about his opinions about everything going on with President Trump, Venezuela. We may ask about the prancing goofball of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and so much more. Coming up right here on Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel in for you today right here on the Zimmer Radio Network.
It's Wake Up
Wake Up Missouri, Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh. My name is Peter Thiel, producer Drake here as well for Randy Tobler and Stephanie Bell. Randy returns mañana. That's tomorrow in Spanish. Pick up the Spanish now that we have Maduro in jail. And then on Wednesday, you'll get a full complement of radio infotainment with both of those wonderful people. Randy and Stephanie will be there and so much more. And I think it's great. I think that's great all the way around. So Nicolas Maduro goes to court this morning. We'll keep you up to date all day long right here on the Zimmer Radio Group stations. Also coming up today, which is vandalism at Vice President Vance's home. His personal home in Ohio, windows broken, man arrested, etc. Also in the news today, Tim Walz is expected to announce he will not seek re-election to governor of Minnesota. Tim Walz has been implicated, his administration has been implicated in this high level of Somali fraud. To the point where it's going on, where Tim Walz may be indicted over this, and there may be some high-level indictments. The Democrats are circling the wagons. They have apparently the most popular politician in Minnesota is Amy Klobuchar, and she apparently will be announcing as soon as Tim Walz announces that he's not running for re-election. She will be announcing she's running for governor of Minnesota. So there you go. Well, let me do this.
They're going to need someone that's not in state government, probably, to try to hold on to that governorcy. It's like the lieutenant governor, anyone. They've all been tainted by this fraud. And it's really a testament to how one citizen journalist can change the country. Like, to wake people up, he's like proof of what Elon Musk was saying all along. This 23-year-old kid really exposed this. Local news, to their credit, had been on this story for a long time, but it took the power of the internet and this going viral to capture the attentions of people as they're, facing extra bills from Christmas, from buying gifts and things, and they're seeing Somalis with millions and millions of taxpayer dollars for fake daycares that have no kids in them, for claiming autism raised by a factor of 130 times. And getting millions for that. Unbelievable. Healthcare companies that aren't actually servicing patients.
Yeah, I've always wanted to run a Somali daycare. I think that's a pretty lucrative deal.
Yeah, why'd you come to work this morning? You could have just started a daycare.
Fraudulent daycare for Somalians. And
that's the thing about that Nick's video. Like, he's like, I'd like to enroll my kid in daycare. No, you can't. You can't. Like,
there's no paperwork. No, you can't. We don't allow it.
Yeah, I hope the next time they don't know better to be like, okay, here's paper, fill out.
Well, here is why.
Get a little better at the fraud.
Here's why that corruption, though, has gone so much, is that the people of the journalists, and this is not just Minnesota, this happens all over the United States and in Washington, D.C., is that the politicians and the journalists are so cozy with each other that it's all of a sudden when a politician does something bad, the journalist defaults to, well, no, probably not that. This guy's my friend or this woman's my friend. They would never do such a thing. And when you're too close to whom you're covering, the problem becomes that if that person does make mistakes, does do things wrong, there's no one there to call them on it.
Yeah, so, you want to be invited to the cocktail parties. That's what's been happening, is like media somehow used to be more of a not blue-collar job, but not just as, I guess, respected. Or it wasn't, people in respectable circles of power didn't hold those positions. And then that changed in the last 30 years. And so now they're all rubbing elbows together. And so you're right, that skepticism, that dynamic is off.
Yes, Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, I'm Peter Thiel. In today for Wake Up Missouri, coming up at 7:37 this morning. Our buddy Rich Valdez will be with us. We're going to talk about this and so much more as we keep you up to date with all the breaking news this morning on Wake Up Missouri.
Who knows, with the way 2026 is going, we might have reports on Cuba or Colombia, or who knows what's happening next.
You know what? I just love waking up in the morning. It just it's one surprise after another. But I will say this, is that when you're too close to whom you cover, it becomes very problematic. And I have been involved with that cocktail circuit before. There was a former governor of a state where I was in media that was in a capital city, and I got all the cocktail invites. I did all the stuff. And automatically you begin to look at these people as your friends.
Yeah. But you're
instead of your servant.
It's okay, I think, for like you or me to do it because we're not pretending to be neutral.
Well, correct.
Like we're pretty out there about being on the right.
Yeah, but
like we'll still call out our own if we see things that we don't like. But yeah, we're not pretending like we're neutral parties when we're actually friends.
Yeah, it's and again, it's the cocktail party circuit and all that sort of stuff. And I used to be on that, and it keeps you from being able to be a truth teller. And I'm all in on telling the truth.
I like a cocktail party, Peter. Don't be telling people I shouldn't be going to my cocktail parties.
I like going to cocktail parties, too. I like cocktail parties, and I like the little sandwiches, you know. And somebody
it does make it tough for those of us on the news side of the house, and it has. I mean, cite Mike Keel being a perfect example. Not only have I known him for decades, but he was a big advertiser with his Ford dealership on these radio stations. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. Coming up, Rich Valdez at 7:37 right here on Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. Wake Up Missouri exclusively on the Zimmer Radio Network. Richie Valdez will be on momentarily. Listen to this sucker.
Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long?
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
So there will be an operation by the U.S. and
it sounds good to me.
Secretary Rubio mentioned...
You know why? Because they kill him.
Bring it on, baby.
You know, fooling around and finding out, Marco Rubio made that abundantly clear. When this president speaks, he means it. When he says he's going to do something, he means it. And so if we're offering you a deal, like to get step down, Maduro, step away, a very generous deal, and you don't take it, then guess what? There will be consequences. And I think that, you know, they were very clear with the 4-day ago video that 2026 is going to be a year of action. And people could fairly question, is this America first, to be like all of a sudden going into Colombia and Venezuela and maybe Cuba and these different places, possibly helping Iran? Didn't he say something about, I'm so cheering for the Iranian people because the way they treat the women over there is abysmal, and the men too. I mean, everyone is just suffering under a dictator there as well. But I definitely don't want troops on the ground in Iran. So where do we draw these lines? Yeah, and again, President Trump ran on the idea of not doing nation building, but here we are. Now, running another country. Now, that being said, there is an official elected government that was not recognized by Nicolas Maduro after they lost. Right. Now, can these people fill the void, etc.? I do think that making sure that Hezbollah is removed is a real big deal. Yeah. And Hezbollah apparently has a presence in Venezuela as well as the Iranians. The Colombians, the Venezuelans, the Chinese, the Russians, like who didn't? What other bad guys didn't have a presence there? That's what I want to know. It's like the bad guys club right here in our hemisphere. And Rubio's like, no mas. Monroe Doctrine, or the Donroe Doctrine, is in play now. Oh, man. I loved what he said, Donroe Doctrine. That guy, our president, one of a kind. And again, the United States has been whining and moaning and groaning about Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro for 30 years. Yeah. And, we haven't paid much attention to it. Meanwhile, the people, you know, Venezuela, they were an educated, wealthy country, and socialism took over. And, you know, then all of a sudden they're dying for lack of medicine. They've all lost all this weight, and they have to flee or die and leave everything behind. Educated, successful professionals having to leave everything behind in the middle of their lives and start over in a foreign country, chased away from their homeland. What a nightmare. One of my neighbors, when I was a kid, the father was in the computer industry before computers became what they are today. And he used to go to Caracas before Chavez, like 2 or 3 times a year for work. And he loved the Venezuelan people and loved Caracas. Argentina, similar story, but their pathway, they've didn't need us. They have Malay down there trying to cut all the government departments and cut the corruption and the graft and the theft from going on down there. And hopefully, you know, if South America could get their act together, and Mexico, if they could get their act together, that would be fantastic for the United States and for the human race. He's a radio talk show host. He's a thought leader. He's our good friend. Oh, he's not there? Okay, we lost him. All right. He's not that good a friend anymore. Yeah, it's Richie Valdez is not that good of a friend anymore. He just went down a notch. Went down one notch. It's okay. But the idea here is that drugs being shipped into the United States. Trump seems over it. You've got to stop it. Mm-hmm. And when you're losing hundreds of thousands of people to addiction, and a lot of people go out and they'll say, well, you know, these people are making this choice. No, once folks are addicted to something, we all know people who have been addicted to something and have had to overcome it. And they go, well, let them hit rock bottom. Well, if you're not getting trank on a regular basis, you're going to hit rock bottom because you're going to be coming off of it. Well, that was you're cutting off heroin. You're cutting off all these other things. It is so good for these people, so good all the way around. Well, when they started putting fentanyl in things to make it more and more addictive, all the different substances, and you had all the overdose deaths from things as simple as a kid thinks they're getting an Adderall or a Xanax, and is all of a sudden a 15, 16-year-old kid bought one pill on Snapchat and is dead.
Yeah,
That's really the turning point, I think, seeing that just epidemic. I know someone whose son died like that. That epidemic across our country was, finally, these countries are fooling around with us.
And they're finding out.
And finally, we have someone, a man of action, that's going to find out. But there are legitimate questions about, like, where is that line? I think other countries are looking at us with wariness right now as to, like, if we're willing to do this, what will we be willing to do next? Where are we drawing the line? So I think we need to make sure that we have transparency about that we're clear. Like, look, if you're not having state-endorsed narco-terrorism with our country, we're not going to be messing around with your country back.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Like, we might set our tariffs depending on how fairly you're treating us with trade, but we're not going to be like coming into your palace and nabbing your leader. And this guy, stop calling him a president. He was not a duly elected president. He lost 2-1 in the election, and so it's inaccurate.
Yeah, it's
he
so
was
funny.
A dictator.
It's so funny. The Democrats go on and on about Trump, saying, "Oh, he's going to just remain in office forever."
Yeah.
Okay,
that was bad if it would be Trump. But.
Yeah, and but when we remove somebody who ignored the will of his own people
by huge margins, by the way, it wasn't even close.
Yes. And he put together a kangaroo court. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Not good all the way around. So I'm pretty happy. I think that I
think we do need to stay in there for the regime change, which we don't have the best history of, but we've learned enough to know you can't just like let the ships fall where they may. Like when we see what happened with Russia, different places, you need to have some sort of stabilizing force to make sure that the people get to be in charge and picking the best person to run their country, and then you get good systems in place to make sure that you just don't kick up the same drug operating graft system that you had before.
And again, the idea is the one thing I will give in that the United States has to help Venezuela with, and I have no problem with this as well because it'll end the void, is making sure their oil industry gets up and running as soon as possible. I think that is highly important.
Yeah,
because
Trump brought that up over and over and over
because
again.
all of a sudden, if there's no money coming in, it'll lead to a despot taking over that country. If all of a sudden money's coming in, the people are eating and working and all that sort of stuff.
And everyone is vested in the system working.
Correct.
Yeah. But if only certain cronies are getting money and everyone else can't get medicine, that system doesn't work.
Correct. So Donald Trump, him going through and taking that over is a real good deal all the way around. I couldn't be more happy. The Venezuelan people are beautiful people. They are lovely, and they've lived under this horrible regime. It's time for them to be freed. And also, I wonder
how many will go home.
That's going to be a good question.
And what it will take for them to feel confident enough to go home. Because what percent? A huge percent of their country left.
Yeah, there's
not just here, but all over the place.
In Florida and also Texas.
And other countries.
And other states around the country and New York, etc. And a lot of them are in places where you can function without having to use English as a formal first language.
I wonder out loud how much bigger of a role will initially Chevron and then maybe Exxon play, because they've already got their feet in the door in the oil industry with letters of agreement or whatever they call it with the Venezuelans. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on that side.
I have a friend of mine who's an accountant, and his deal is that he audited for a major drug manufacturer all over the world, and he went to Caracas one time, and the facilities were looked over carefully. He said it was the only country he flew into, and this is probably about 13 years ago. He arrived, and he was greeted at the airport by a company provided security guard.
Huh.
And
so he wouldn't get kidnapped.
Yeah, and he was told, do not leave the hotel. Pull in. So he had a company, American Express, that he could use at the hotel, but he could not leave a tip for the people in the restaurant.
Huh.
So he had to go with his security guy and go to a bank so he could get cash to hand to the waiter or waitress when he was served. And so he was there for about 5 days. And he said it was the most backwards experience. He said mainly because people were watching him.
Mm-hmm.
When they were pulling in, people were looking out their door at him. And he was being spied upon. And he had been to every other country except for Cuba and Latin America. And he said that was the most disturbing experience that he had.
Does not sound like a fun tourism, like some place you'd want to take your family back to later. 27% of Venezuelans have left since the Chavez regime took over in 1999, 26 years ago.
It's amazing. So, John Marsh, what do we have coming up?
We have the bell ringer with an attitude.
All right. I like bell ringers with attitudes. That's coming up on Wake Up Missouri at 7:52, exclusively with Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel, producer Drake, and for Randy and Stephanie. Good morning.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Stephen Pavlik of Stuart, Florida, is facing charges of aggravated assault and resisting arrest after his stint as a Salvation Army bell ringer went awry, you might say. Pavlik was stationed in front of a Publix grocery store before drunk ringing, belligerent tidings, and assault took him from bell duty to the booking stand at the PD after a full-blown charity tirade, according to the coppers. Having become intoxicated during the course of his charitable work, Pavlik began confronting passersby, who promptly informed the manager. When the manager came outside to discuss the complaints with the inebriated bell ringer, he attempted to spear him with the donation kettle tripod and then ran off.
Who hasn't done that?
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't?
The manager, uninjured, Pavlik arrested at his home and is facing charges.
Yeah, it's getting liquored up while being being at the bell ringing thing during the holiday season. Not a good idea. If you're gonna ease back on the drink, that may be your time.
Well, maybe you just need a little warming up.
Yeah, it could have been really cold out there in Florida.
Oh, well, you never know.
Well,
maybe he wasn't wearing enough layers. He
they did have
wanted to get in the festive spirit, got carried away. I'm just thinking like a defense attorney here.
Here you are.
Well, there was a cold snap where iguanas were falling from the trees.
That's true.
Ooh.
And so
some of those suckers could hurt if they fell on you. Those are big ones.
Yeah, and they referred, by the way, I have a buddy of mine who's Jamaican. They refer to iguanas as the chicken of the trees. Delicious. Yeah.
I've seen them fight. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's if they whip you on the leg, that's not good. I don't think. Now, I've never eaten iguana. Either of you?
No,
not
no
to my
iguanas.
knowledge, anyway. But I've had some stews in the Caribbean, or who knows?
Yeah,
there's different kinds of fish or whatever in there.
I've had alligator.
Delicious. Yeah,
alligator's wonderful.
Alligator bites.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, they're really good. And I'm a big fan of that. I've just not purposefully had the iguana or rats.
I bet it's similar to alligator. Like they're kind of both reptiles, both long.
Yeah, I kind of tried to steer clear of the burrito gato south of the border, right? So.
Burrito gato. Cat,
yeah.
And perro burrito.
There you go.
Perro. I like barbacoa borrego. That's my favorite Latin thing, and that is goat barbecue, and actually lamb barbecue. Lamb.
Ooh, yeah, that would be good.
Cabrito, see.
Yeah, that's
really
goat.
good.
Yeah,
that's baby kid, right?
Yeah. That's delicious. That's a fine taste test. So Maduro is going to be arraigned later on this morning. We'll have all the information as the day goes on right here on your wonderful Zimmer Radio Group station.
Yeah, and Walt is going to announce he's out. Klobuchar might be running.
Yes.
There's a lot happening.
And Vice President Vance's personal home was vandalized in Ohio, and the Vances were not there at the time.
Oh, it was his personal home.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, his personal home. And New York is getting ready for that warm embrace of collectivism, which works so well.
Well, white people and some people of color. So he appointed a housing director or whatever, and you could just tell that these liberal whites are racist. The way she's like, well, white people are going to have to get used to the idea that housing is a public good, not a private property. She said white people and some people of color.
Yeah, some POCs.
Some POCs, she says.
Yeah, not...
Which sounds like POS, by the way. Like, when you say it fast like that, you could be misunderstood. Anyway,
POC,
so some
by
of them,
the way,
but
is
especially
people of color.
white people. Like, really, in a culture, is a city as diverse as New York, I bet there are plenty of people of color that own homes and don't want her to control who gets to stay there.
Yeah,
I wonder how big the crowd of protesters will be at the Maduro hearing.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be pretty
dare
good.
they bring him here?
Who gets more, him or Luigi Mangione?
So my nephew in New York, he went on his Christmas New Year's break with, people from Singapore, Thailand, Egypt. I mean, that's his friend group. His friend group is very, very diverse. A lot of these people are homeowners. So,
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, so again, the absolute ignorance
And racism towards white people.
And why is it
and
always
people of color? Like, stop
why
dividing
is it
everyone
always
up
the white-
based on melanin.
Okay, I have a question here since you're our standard white woman here. Why is it always the white women that are out there trying to oppress the whites?
Good question. I'll give it some thought. Maybe I'll get back to you on that.
Tanya J. Powers on the Maduro situation from Fox News. Following the news right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. Maduro is going to be in court this morning, arraigned on charges, and we'll find out more and more about that. J.D. Vance's home in Ohio was vandalized. Tim Walz apparently is going to be bowing out for re-election after all the Somali fraud, and so much more. Joining us from Fox News Radio is our friend Tanya J. Powers. Tanya, let's talk about Maduro. What's happening today?
Well, I'm outside the courthouse where he is going to be arraigned in a few hours, set for noon Eastern time. There's a big media presence at this point out here. I've been out here since about 5:30 when there were just a fraction as many crews and media folks as there are now. It's kind of grown exponentially, but I'm outside right across the street from the front doors of the Daniel Moynihan Federal Courthouse. As we mentioned, it is a federal. It's not expect cameras inside the courtroom, as that's not a thing. They are not going to have live video streams or audio or anything like that. It's able to be recorded in the courtroom itself. They'll probably have sketches and that kind of thing, but that's all we expect. He was brought here earlier this morning to face those charges. He and his wife both are charged. He is charged with narco-terrorism, also conspiracy to import cocaine. His wife, Celia Flores, is due in court on the cocaine conspiracy charge as well. It is expected to be, a pretty cut and dried first appearance, how do you plead situation. He is expected, of course, to plead not guilty. As far as his attorneys go, we've not gotten information on who that's going to be, or if he has an attorney. I think I understand that he apparently does. We just don't know, who they are at this point, or how they were hired, or if they're pro bono or what.
That's interesting. So both Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, are going to be arraigned today, and we'll find out whether or not they have attorneys this morning. Is that right?
We should, yeah. When the arraignment happens, there should be, more. We should learn more about any kind of attorneys who they've got. If his assets are frozen and he doesn't, have money to, hire an attorney, that kind of thing, then that's something that we'll probably find out as well.
So there you go. That's going on right from there. So Tanya J., you're going to be in the middle of this all day. Thank you, by the way, for being on with us, and hopefully we'll get you on Wake Up Missouri in the next day or two once they have this all done and set up.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see if they have the same attorneys or different ones, because they could have conflict of interest, an attorney might, depending on whether or not the husband and wife could flip on each other in the case. If they offer a deal to the wife, then that creates a conflict, so they'd have to have different teams of attorneys, which is twice as expensive. But I wonder how that will all shake out.
Yeah, that's a good question. There is a protest that is planned for 11:30 this morning Eastern time. That is set for Foley Square, which is just feet from where I am right now in front of the courthouse. I can tell you, though, as I'm speaking, I'm looking over to the corner of the block that I'm on, just about 15 to 20 feet maybe from where I'm sitting. There are some people who are standing here with signs that say "Free President Nicolas Maduro" and Celia Flores now. These are folks that obviously are Maduro. Either feel like he was taken and illegally, or supporters of his, one or the other. There's another sign that says "USA hands off Venezuela." This is probably what we're going to see a lot more of at that protest at 11:30.
Have you heard anything about counter protesters, like people who are happy or jubilant? We've seen celebrations on TV of Venezuelans that are pleased about this. Any chance of those people that are happy about this news showing up at the courthouse this morning?
I would imagine so, yeah, because there was a lady, as I've been sitting here doing, my work on my laptop and talking to affiliates all morning, there was a lady that was speaking to another reporter near me probably about half an hour ago, and she said that, she was overjoyed. She had a Venezuelan flag, and she was holding it up, and she said she was happy that, he had been taken and brought here and is going to be charged and appearing in court. So, you've got. I would not be surprised if we didn't see more people who are celebrating that.
Tanya J. Powers is Fox News Radio. Jennifer or Tanya, I'll let you get back to the action there. Thank you for joining us on Wake Up Missouri.
Sure, thank you.
All right.
It's loud there in
Yeah,
Manhattan.
it's Tanya.
That was good timing. The siren went off right as you were saying goodbye.
Well, it's again, we'll find out who the attorneys are. I found that in previous government situations, they have attorneys who have represented the interests of Maduro in this country, including a guy named Chris Keiss of Foley and Lardner. And Armstrong and Partners is a law firm that's also represented the Maduro government over time. Again, I'm guessing that the criminal defense attorneys that will be hired by Maduro and his wife will be sharks.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And we'll see, does she get as high caliber ones as him? Because there's so much potential for conflict. I don't think they can have the same team. Ethically, it would be difficult to represent them both because the evidence is going to be slightly different. The charges are different here. They're not going to have the same defense for everything. So there could be foreseeable conflicts arise between the two of them. But that makes everything more expensive to have two different teams of attorneys working on the same defense or are defending the two different individuals.
Correct.
There's also issues of spousal privilege between the two of them where they couldn't. So it's going to be fascinating.
Explain spousal privilege, Jennifer.
You can't force a spouse to testify about things that were said to them in the confidence of marriage. So if my husband and I are here chatting with each other and you're present, that's not privileged.
Okay.
You could make him testify about what was said when the third person was present. But if he chooses not when a third person's not present, can't make him do it.
And so it's pillow talk. It does not apply.
Yeah, but since they're both charged criminally, they obviously have their own privilege against self-incrimination, so we couldn't force them to take the witness stand anyway.
Unless they have third-party witnesses.
Well, you can't make one of those two get up on the stand because they're both charged criminally. That's more when one spouse is charged and the other is not with a crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think back to the Noriega days when his legal team, they filed a motion to withdraw, I think, at one point in time, because it all revolved around the seized funds, and Noriega couldn't pay his legal bills and all. I wonder how closely this may track along to some of the tactics the defense team used in that case, because they are pretty similar.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point.
Issues of sovereignty. I was the leader of my own country, international, all these different boutique international defenses that don't come up very often are going to come up in this case.
Yeah, we'll be watching that very, very carefully right here on Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. And again, all day on your fine affiliate, either KWTO, KWOS, or 93.9 The Eagle. We'll have that information as it goes on throughout the day. And it's just going to be a fascinating time for us to watch.
Oh, he could argue, here's another thought. He could argue that facilitation of shipments of drugs doesn't meet elements of narco-terrorism or machine gun possession, or that they weren't official acts, but rather political or economic decisions.
Well, the whole political prisoner angle is already being played out, so I think you're on the money with that.
Yeah, so there's whether or not the U.S. courts have jurisdiction over foreign leaders. That the no extradition treaty between Venezuela and the United States they could try to say that his arrest and his detention are unlawful. We could see a habeas action, maybe even. Yeah, show your authority to be holding me right now. It should be interesting. This will be like a legal puzzle. High-level criminal defense case right here with so many different legal issues. And we have to wait and see what the strength of their evidence is still against him.
And do you have confidence in Pam Bondi?
Well, yeah, she's got some terrific people working for her and the best in the business in terms of dealing with international drug dealers. So I think the Department of Justice will be the ones to get this done. But I thought it was interesting that Bondi didn't seem to be at the big press conference when they kept saying it was a law enforcement action over and over again. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Her absence was palpable. You're saying that over and over it's a law enforcement action, but Pam Bondi wasn't there. And I thought, well, is she in a different city? She couldn't get there? Or
well, she's
why
a
wasn't she
Floridian,
there?
and this was at Mar-a-Lago, so it seemed like
It was a choice.
Yeah, or perhaps
Maybe they want to avoid her doing something that would conflict her out of the case, so that you'd have to have a special, and they're just being extra careful.
Yeah, that may be the case as well. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. We'll have that all day for you. Coming up, the Morning Bell. The Morning Bell with Uncle Peter. It's Peter, Jennifer, John Marsh, producer Drake. This is Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
And it's the Morning Bell with Peter Thiel. I'm your Morning Bell guy. Dow Jones futures are up 59 points. NASDAQ futures up 215 points. S&P 500 futures up 27. We'll be watching the price of oil as this week goes on. And by the way, U.S. oil majors silent after Trump says they're going to invest billions in Venezuela. And, of course, they will be. Starlink moves fast with free Venezuela broadband after Maduro's arrest. That's fantastic. Bitcoin is up strongly this morning, up over $92,700. Ethereum is up as well. Doge and Shiba Inu, though, are off a little bit. So there you go. You're going to want to watch that very carefully as we go through today. Lots of fun going on as we look at Venezuela and what's going through. By the way,
I'm surprised things aren't moving like a little more. Things aren't more volatile given the possession of the oil reserves. The world have changed so dramatically in a short weekend.
And it may, by the way, go up and down throughout the day.
But the pre-market trading, just slightly up. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll be watching that carefully as it goes through today. Lots of excitement as we go and we look at this thing. Nicolas Maduro and his lovely bride, can I say that, are going to be arraigned this morning at about 11 o'clock our time. Other breaking news, Tim Walz will not be seeking re-election amid the fraud scandal in Minnesota that looked like it was just like a slush fund for Democratic candidates. Widely believed that U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar will be jumping into that race.
That should be interesting. Mike Lindell, my pillow guy, has already announced that he'll be running for the Republican nomination for Minnesota governor. And while Trump has made statements of support, he hasn't officially endorsed him yet. So we'll have to wait and see if a different Republican candidate emerges. I think if we do have Klobuchar, she'd be much harder to beat than Tim Walz would be. So it might be harder to get a stronger candidate than Mike Lindell to run up there as a Republican.
Yeah, so again, we'll be watching this very, very carefully, and the idea of fraud-type charges happening federally in Minnesota. The concern, I think, is that Tim Walz could be opened up for fraud charges because of the connections between the Democratic Party and the Somali fraudsters. Apparently were very strong, and there was a lot of quid pro quo going on, and that's going to be
or at least donations. A lot of donations were being made, which might have something to do with why they changed the state flag to look like the Somali flag, and they were catering to that population so much because they were a voting bloc that would come out for you, and if you were a Democrat, you wanted that voting bloc. But did they know about the fraud? We don't know whether or not they were involved or knowledgeable about the fraud. Certainly, there was local reporting about the fraud, so they should have been more skeptical and, did more due diligence and audits to make sure that we weren't being bilked for billions of dollars. It's just ridiculous. And I want to know, is this happening in Missouri? Or is this happening?
Yes.
Because already states like Ohio and Washington and California, there's noise about this stuff is not just taking place in Minnesota. It's taking place other places too. So hopefully our folks in Missouri are taking a close look at any kind of daycares or different situations like we see played out in Minnesota.
Yeah, and again, the idea here, somebody is in this country as a refugee, and if they're committing a crime like this, go back to Somalia. I think that Mogadishu, baby. Go to the
they're
Moog.
Spitting in our faces. Like, we kindly take them in, and this is how they treat us. Stealing from us. I mean, not all of them, hopefully, but enough of them that it's pretty offensive, and a lot of people are rightfully upset about it.
As it should be. It's our money, and we expect our state federal money to be spent properly. I think most Americans have no problem helping out certain things, but when it's a fraudulent thing, that is not good whatsoever. So.
Yeah, the Somalis came in, and I think the public perception is, well, they were all asylum seekers, and they had had real challenges back home. No, they came in as straight refugees and promptly, big time, as Peter can relate to the Twin Cities, did a whole lot of taking advantage and armed gangs and everything else.
Yeah, and again, the fear of being called racist. That was apparently the big worry among the Democrats, is that if they said no to the Somalis, they were scared of being called a racist.
Well, one of them did threaten that, the Feed My Children. One of those groups.
Feed the Future. Feed the Future.
One of those groups threatened when they were being investigated. If you say this, we're going to go to the newspapers and say racism.
Rich Valdez will now join us.
We'll see.
At 8:35. I just exchanged texts with him. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. Wake Up Missouri. My name is Peter Thiel. Jennifer Bukowski's here. John Marsh, and joining us now, radio talk show host, opinion generator, and man about town, Mr. Rich Valdez. Rich, welcome to Wake Up Missouri.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, it's great going through. So over the weekend, now you're not Venezuelan, you're Puerto Rican, but you're
You're part of the Caribbean.
Yeah, you're in New York. There's a lot of Venezuelans there. What's your impression of Donald Trump's nabbing of the cocaine dealer Maduro?
Let me tell you, I think from what I've seen, the response has been overwhelming. People are so ecstatic. Even the neighbors to Venezuelans, like the Colombians. I frequent this Colombian restaurant pretty often, and these people were saying this is going to be good for us because in Colombia, we've had to deal with a lot of illegal immigration, people escaping Venezuela, coming, taking our jobs, working for a lot less. And it's very interesting when you hear that perspective from people in South America. I think oftentimes people think that they don't deal with the same problems we deal with here in the United States when it comes to illegal immigration, but they're definitely on the same page, and they're thrilled that Maduro is behind bars.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing going on now. The prospect here, and by the way, Rich Valdez on Wake Up Missouri, is that we are now in a place, Rich, where Democrats are now favoring a communist regime, a dictator. I don't understand how this cannot be the most popular move that could have been made for Latin America.
Well, sadly, Peter, the Democrats have created a situation where there isn't a criminal, there isn't a drug dealer, there isn't a wife-beating Maryland dad, if you will, that they won't step up and pretend to protect. Mm-hmm. And this is where the Democrats have arrived. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And, I have some friends. I have a friend from Cuba, and he's probably the only Cuban on the planet that is a Cuban that isn't a conservative Republican. And, for months he's been telling me Trump is weak. Trump is not going to get Maduro out of office. You watch, Trump is going to leave office and that guy's going to stay there. It's a waiting game. You don't know how the communists work. I do. Right. So he's giving me all this smack. And I called him to rub it in his face. And he tells me, yeah, but guess what? The rest of the regime is still there. Everything is going to continue. When Chavez literally died, it didn't interrupt the communism in Venezuela. What makes you think taking out just one dictator? So it's very difficult to satisfy certain people on the left.
President's talking tough. Should the leadership in Cuba be alarmed or on guard?
Good morning, brother. Hey, listen, I think that there's something I've learned in growing up around people that escaped from Cuba and from Venezuela, and it's that these communist dictators are very much like American Democrats. So they don't run scared. They really don't care. They think they're better than you. They don't believe they're touchable by law enforcement. And if you look at history, for the most part, they're right. You look from the ones that, like Lenin and the rest of these, nobody goes to jail. Very few of them get assassinated. So once you get into a position of power as a Marxist dictator, it's a good gig for you.
Yeah, and you become intransigent as like leaving means peril for you. And to that point, though, your neighbor might have a point because apparently Venezuela's men with guns remain the ultimate power after Maduro's ouster. So his two main generals still apparently control the military. I wonder how this is going to shake out.
Right. Yeah, 100%. The Marco Rubio yesterday, Secretary Rubio, said that Delcy Rodriguez will continue to be, she's the vice president to Maduro, his right-hand man, that she's going to continue to be in charge. Now, I made this point on Twitter yesterday because people are saying, oh, Trump and all of his regime change nonsense. And my point was, what regime change? The regime hasn't changed. And it's not a critique or a criticism on Trump, right? They had a warrant to arrest a specific person, Nicolas Maduro, for being a drug dealer and for holding office illegally or whatever. That wasn't part of it, but that was, what they were egging on. So we're arresting him for being a drug trafficker. My suspicion is that it is that inner circle that is there now that likely facilitated the ease in getting Maduro without having anybody killed. And therefore, there's probably a deal in place, behind the scenes with Trump saying, look, I'll lock up the rest of you guys, too, or we'll bomb the heck out of you if you don't play ball with us. You guys can make money selling drugs, or you could make money selling the oil that the Americans are about to start pumping out of your refineries.
Yeah, and you're right, because Marco Rubio brought this up, and Trump did too, I believe. Maduro was offered generous deals to get out, and he didn't. So now this example has been set. If you're not playing ball with us, then we could remove you too, I guess, is the message that's being sent.
Oh, 100%. And you know what? Look, I think President Trump really signaled the strength of all of this when he said, I think it was late October or early November, and he said he confirmed that clandestine operations were occurring in South America. That was a very big deal because the critique that everybody has on America globally is that we get involved in things, we topple governments, we put in our American-friendly governments. Well, I mean, that is a real part of how this game is played. And if they fear that happening, then they ought to try and negotiate where they can maintain positions of power. Because, if Trump came to me, right, and Trump just happening to be the American president comes to you and says, hey, it's time for you to stop, working with the cartels. You've got to figure out another way to make money. And guess what? I've got that way for you. I think you should listen because these guys have more guns than anybody. I wouldn't want to pick a fight with the Americans.
It's Rich Valdez. He's on Wake Up Missouri with Jennifer, John, and Peter. Rich, also today in breaking news, at the same time that Nicolas Maduro is being arraigned, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, is going to announce he's not seeking re-election. How big is this Somali fraud thing in your mind?
But, what I love about the Somali fraud thing is I think it's very popular right now, and that's a good thing. But I think this is it's Minnesota, right? So I think most people don't even know where Minnesota is on a map if you're from where I'm from, right? Sadly, to say the truth. But what happens is I think it's the tip of the spear. Just imagine what that fraud is going to look like when they uncover that same level of fraud in New York, in California, in Chicago. I think this is really how it's going to – it's starting in Middle America. It's going to work its way out to the coast. As long as they keep their foot on the gas, I couldn't be happier about this stuff because this level of fraud has been around forever. And it's very difficult to explain to people that there's fraud in government because the answer you typically get is, oh, you mean there's politicians that are cutting side deals and making money on kickbacks? Who would have thought that, right? So most people are incredulous to it. They don't care. And this they happen to care about for whatever reason, maybe because of the dislike for Ilhan Omar and all of the stupid things she said, like some people did something, right? I remember that. I know a lot of people did. I know New Yorkers don't like it. So I think this perfect storm is the perfect marketing vehicle to show the rest of America there is a lot of fraud. And I think the Doge Committee really helped to that end as well.
Yeah, it has proved the Doge theory, certainly. And I think personally for me, what offends me more about this as opposed to regular just fraud in general is that these are people that we as a country were so generous to that you said that your lives are in peril. We opened our arms. We accepted you into our country. And they basically spit in our faces with this just blatant graft, enriching themselves, filming videos of them saying you're going to be the richest 25-year-old in the world, bro. It's just, that's extra offensive to me. And it is to many Americans as they get in their car and drive to work to go work hard, that they could have just had a fake daycare and millions of dollars.
Yeah, Jennifer, I think you're 100% right. I think that, unpopular opinion over here, I think there are a lot of Americans, mainstream people that are very apolitical in any part of this country, but in particular in my part of the country, in New York, that will tell you, they don't have a large problem with illegal immigrants per se or immigrants per se. The problem is that it's when you get the illegal immigrant that's not willing to come here and work really hard and bust their butt and try to get papers and try to become an American and do what they've got to do. But the one that comes here and they're like, F you, screw you, you're going to pay my bills, you're going to do this, and I'm going to rob you.
For billions of dollars, too. Like,
just
not
bizarre.
even not just to get by paycheck to paycheck, but to just fleece us.
And one last question is that...
and sending it overseas in pallets of cash to Al-Shabaab. That's been going on for a number of years.
It's nuts. Rich Valdez is with us exclusively on Wake Up Missouri on Zimmer Radio Network. Rich, The last thing I have for you is that Vice President Vance's home over the weekend, his personal home in Ohio, was vandalized. Apparently, windows were broken, all sorts of stuff like that. The absolute violence of the left is so frightening. How does this get turned around?
Well, I'd say that's a big security failure. I mean, obviously, J.D. Vance, he's out there. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's doing a fantastic job of it. And a part of a vice president's job is talking that smack, right? Pushing back on the leftist narrative. And they've got to know that Vance and anything that's Vance-related is going to be a target. So, I mean, we should have learned a better lesson from the Chief Justice Roberts when that whole thing happened with a guy with a gun right outside his house. These things really shouldn't happen, in my opinion. I think security around the vice president of the United States should probably be tighter. But I think sometimes things do happen. I get it. Thankfully, he's okay. But you're right. The left embraces violence. And again, when I made the comment before about the left being so similar to communists, that's not fake, sadly. I mean, they really do embrace. If you've ever read any stuff, I used to read, just to be a geek, Marxist.org. And if you read some of their white papers from the 1900s, they'll tell you that the reason they set stuff on fire during these protests is to create this feeling of chaos. This comes straight from Lenin. And it's wild to think, like, I've been to a MAGA event or three, and I could tell you I've never seen anybody acting up. So it's a different breed of person. It's a malcontent. It's somebody who's unhappy with their own life, and they just gravitate towards something where you can just be mad all the time and claim that inequity is the reason for it, and it's Trump's fault, it's your fault, it's MAGA's fault.
Rich Valdez, how do we find you if someone wants to read your X account? Where do they go?
Absolutely. Well, the first place I'll tell you to go is richvaldez.com. That's Valdez with an S. You can catch my show there. We have new shows every night at 9 p.m. Through iHeartRadio at richvaldez.com or at Rich Valdez with an S on all of the social media.
Absolutely. Rich, thank you so much, my brother, and thanks for joining Wake Up Missouri.
My pleasure. Thank you, Peter, Jennifer, everybody. God bless.
All right. That's our buddy Rich, exclusively right here on Wake Up Missouri. Coming up, leftovers. I got some. I bet you do, too. Coming up right here on Wake Up Missouri. Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel, producer Drake. Leftovers, gang. Let's talk about leftovers that we didn't get to today. Of course, Maduro, he's arraigned today at 11. Tim Walz is not running for re-election at 11. J.D. Vance's personal home was vandalized in Ohio. All right, what else do you have? Jennifer, John?
Well, I've got an issue that's dividing the country of South Korea, and that is promises to pay for hair loss as a health, like a disease. Is it a disease to lose your hair? That's dividing the country. And I guess the current leader won, promising that he would use government money to cure baldness. Now, is baldness an ailment? Like, are you sick of your bald? I don't know. 573-874-9390. Text us and let us know. Should we add this to Medicare? Should we add this to Medicaid? Make insurance companies cover it. But South Korea's president has identified a new enemy.
I want free hair plugs. Free hair plugs. John, do you have any leftovers?
Yes, and we preface it by saying services will be Wednesday with a barbecue to follow. The crews had a big cleanup on their hands Friday. A semi hauling hogs crashed near Tuscumbia in Miller County. 200 pigs died. There were 650 hogs on the truck.
Wow.
And the driver walked away.
All right.
Can't say as much for all the hogs.
He was probably buckled up.
According to at best estimates, 10 to 20% of Somalians are inbred. Apparently, they like marrying their cousins.
Well, that's a fun fact.
And it's not just Elon Omar marrying her brother. Apparently, and by the way, there's a lot of countries in the world where marrying cousins or tightly related clan-type marriages are pretty common, a.k.a. the Palestinians.
Them also in London, the certain Islamic populations in London, very prevalent, and they're having health problems because of it. It can lower IQ quite a bit, and also genetic diseases become out much more prevalently. You can end up with basically, well, I don't know what the new word is for mentally impaired, but they'll never be functioning adults, basically.
Yeah, it's
always will need to be cared for by others.
It also creates crazy behavior. People often forget that Adolf Hitler's father was also his uncle.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. It creates all sorts of illogical sort of behavior when it is people being married, close family relations. You look at the history of the pharaohs in Egypt. They frequently had close family marriages. And it created all sorts of crazy things and probably helped bring down that empire. Drake.
All right, I don't know how we haven't touched on this. Your Missouri Tigers in basketball took down number 22, the Florida Gators, the reigning national champions.
That's great. Yeah, that was a great game.
It was a great game, and, we're starting 1-0 in SEC play. Let's go 18-0. I can see it. Let's go win a national championship.
Natty, baby, natty. So there you go. I think that is good as they're going through.
The bowl game was a heartbreaker. I went to that down in Florida.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got a little bit of retribution against Florida in general.
It's and here's the other thing is that Chuck Schumer, who had over time had called for the removal of Nicolas Maduro, now is against the removal of Nicolas Maduro.
Huh.
And
I
so
wonder why that is.
He's a clown.
Or he lacks principles.
Yes. It's it's called he wants to keep his power.
His principles are Schumerology. That's what he believes in.
So it's just going on. Also, we didn't get to is that Vladimir Zelensky suggests that Trump should also arrest Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
that's not happening.
Gary Nolan, he's coming up next exclusively on the Zimmer Radio Network. Thank you so much for listening to Wake Up Missouri. Randy and Jennifer will be back tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.